The ice beneath their tents was breaking apart. Cracks opened through the floe. Water appeared where solid ground had been. After months of waiting, Shackleton's men had reached the moment they had been preparing for. They had to leave. This is against the odds. True stories of survival, courage, and impossible odds. On April 9, 1916, all 28 men climbed into 3 lifeboats: the James Caird, the Dudley Docker, and the Stancomb Wills. For months, they had lived on drifting ice. Now they entered the open Weddell Sea. The change was immediate. On the ice, they had been cold but mostly stationary. In the boats, they were constantly wet. Spray froze against clothing. Sleep became difficult. The boats rose and fell between waves and broken ice. Frank Worsley, the captain of Endurance, tried to determine their position whenever the sky allowed him to see the sun. Navigation mattered enormously. A small error could mean missing land entirely. Their first objective changed as currents pushed them. Eventually, they aimed for Elephant Island. It was uninhabited, but it was land, and after months on unstable ice, land had become enough. The men rowed and sailed whenever conditions allowed. Sometimes the sea opened. Sometimes ice blocked them again. They slept crowded together. Their clothes stayed wet. Fresh water became limited. Several men were beginning to weaken. There was no rescue vessel searching nearby. No radio could tell the outside world where they were. Everything depended on keeping the boats together and finding an island they could not yet see. Then, after more than a week, land appeared. Elephant Island. On April 17th, the boats reached the shore. The men climbed out. For the first time since leaving South Georgia almost 500 days earlier, they were standing on solid ground. That mattered more than comfort. They could sleep without wondering whether the surface beneath them would split apart. They could establish a camp. They could recover from the boat journey. But the relief contained another problem. Elephant Island had no permanent settlement. Ships rarely passed nearby. Nobody knew the Endurance party was there. They had escaped the moving ice. But they had not escaped isolation. Frank Wild and several others searched the coastline for a safer place to camp. They eventually found a narrow spit of land. The group moved there. They turned their boats into shelter. And for a few days, 28 exhausted men could stop moving. But Shackleton understood the situation. They could not simply wait on Elephant Island and expect someone to arrive. Someone would have to leave. Someone would have to cross hundreds of miles of the Southern Ocean in one of the small lifeboats. Not to explore, not to break a record, simply to tell the world where the others were. 7 days after reaching Elephant Island, 6 men pushed the James Caird back into the sea. The rest watched from shore. Their survival now depended on whether that tiny boat could reach South Georgia, more than 800 miles away.